History remembers grand campaigns. Wars fought over continents. Battles stretched over days, weeks, years. But once, only once, the world witnessed a war that was so short, so sudden, so brutally decisive that it seemed to materialize like lightning and vanish just as quickly. A war born not from strategy, not from deep-rooted hostility, but from a fatal misunderstanding of power, because one side believed tradition would shield them, and the other carried the steel certainty of an empire. This is the story of a war that lasted 38 minutes, a war in which pride confronted industrial machinery and learned, in less than an hour, what centuries of history had been trying to teach. This is the Anglo-Zanzibar War, the shortest war ever fought, and one of the most revealing. To understand the war, we must step back to the final, restless decade of the 19th century. The Indian Ocean, once ruled by traders and ancient dynasties, had become an arena of modern empires. Britain, Germany, France each carved an influence along Africa's eastern coast, and at the center of these ambitions stood a glittering island kingdom, Zanzibar. For centuries, Zanzibar had been a powerful sultanate, a crossroads of spices, ivory, gold, and slaves. Its capital city, stone buildings, narrow alleys, bustling docks, was a place where traders from Arabia, India, Africa, and Europe converged. But by the 1890s, the world was changing. Industrial empires no longer relied on trade, they dominated it. And to Britain, Zanzibar was no longer just a port. It was a strategic node in their imperial web stretching from Egypt to India. Thus came the treaties, carefully worded, quietly restrictive. Zanzibar retained a sultan, but Britain held the power to approve who that sultan would be. A delicate arrangement, a political marriage held together by diplomacy, tradition, and mutual benefit. But like all fragile alliances, it would not survive a crisis. At the heart of the tragedy were two very different worldviews. For generations, Zanzibar's strength came from tradition and prestige. Palace guards trained in ceremonial loyalty, musket-bearing retainers proud of their heritage, cannons inherited from earlier conflicts, the royal yacht, HHS Glasgow, armed but more symbolic than lethal, and a grand palace overlooking the harbor, a proud reminder of the Sultanate's past. To the Zanzibar court, legitimacy still determined power, lineage, honor, and the will of the people. They believed that the British would hesitate to fire upon a fellow monarchy. They believed diplomacy would prevail. They believed the world still ran on the old rules, but the British Empire had replaced the old rules with new ones. Rules written in factories, foiled bicol, and enforced by steel warships. The Royal Navy did not think in terms of tradition or honor. They thought in terms of control of sea lanes, rapid response, deterrence, technological supremacy, overwhelming force, and above all, maintaining imperial authority to the British. Any challenge to their treaty was not a political dispute. It was a test. If they backed down, and the entire East African coastline might unravel. Thus, a miscalculation formed. Zanzibar mistook British restraint for indecision. Britain mistook Zanzibari pride for defiance. Both sides were locked on a collision course. Both sides believed they were in control, and neither understood just how quickly that illusion would collapse. On the morning of August 25, 1896, the island awoke to shocking news. Sultan Hamad bin Tawaini, a ruler loyal to British interests, was dead. Some said he died peacefully. Others whispered darker rumors: poison, betrayal, ambition. History offers no certainty. But one thing is undeniable. Within hours, Prince Khalid bin Barghash, the Sultan's bold and controversial cousin, seized the palace. No consultations, no negotiations, no British approval. To Khalid, this was his birthright, his moment, his destiny. And he believed Zanzibar's past strength would give him leverage, that Britain would accept his rule, if not gladly, then at least grudgingly. But the moment Khalid hoisted the Sultanate flag over the palace, he crossed a line Britain could not ignore. The British consul, Basil K., sent a direct message. Khalid's rule was illegal. He must step down. Khalid refused, and so began the countdown to the shortest war in history. For 24 tense hours, the island held its breath. Inside the palace, preparations were chaotic but determined. Guards armed with rifles that had seen better decades. Cannons rolled into position across the courtyard. Volunteers rushing to reinforce doors and walls. Servants carrying messages through dark hallways, and Khalid pacing beneath ornate wooden ceilings. Convinced that Britain would not dare attack, he gathered nearly 2,800 men loyalists, guards, volunteers, but numbers meant nothing against the reality of modern warfare. While Khalid fortified the palace, the Royal Navy prepared for war. HMS St. George, HMS Thrush, HMS Sparrow, HMS Raccoon, HMS Philomel, 5 British warship steel hulls, glistening on board. Signal officers studied codebooks, artillery crews calibrated their guns, engineers fed coal into furnaces, Marines loaded rifles and Maxim machine guns. Officers debated range, trajectory, and timing. Everything unfolded with quiet, mechanical precision. No hesitation, no uncertainty. The Empire was moving. Basil Cave delivered an ultimatum. Khalid must step down by 9 a.m. on August 27th, or Britain would use force. Khalid sent back a single reply. He would not yield. The final hours passed like the calm before a hurricane. Soft waves in the harbor, warm winds across the courtyard, a nation standing on the edge of annihilation without understanding what awaited it. To understand the war's outcome, we must understand the battlefield. Zanzibar's forces, 2,800 defenders, minus 32 cannons, mostly brass and outdated rifles, varying in age and accuracy. One wooden royal yacht used as a makeshift warship. No modern artillery, no naval power, no coordinated command structure, no training in modern warfare. Britain's forces, 5 steel warships, naval guns capable of obliterating stone buildings, Maxim machine guns firing hundreds of rounds per minute, trained Marines, well-practiced communication, industrial logistics, instant resupply capability, precise coordination from telegraph to deck. This was the ultimate mismatch, a medieval military tradition facing the Industrial Revolution. It was not a battle of bravery, not a contest of courage. It was a demonstration of what happens when outdated assumptions collide with modern firepower. At 8:59 a.m., a final signal was sent from HMS St. George. Will the Sultan step down? No reply. At 9 a.m., the order was given. Commence. Fire. The first salvo, the opening British broadside, crashed into the palace with the force of thunder. Stones shattered, beams cracked. Dust and fire erupted into the sky. The defenders barely had time to react. The palace under fire. Inside the palace, guards scrambled behind crumbling walls, smoke-filled hallways. Wounded men screamed for help. Courtyards shook with each impact. Cannon crews tried to load their antiquated guns, but many were destroyed instantly. The palace band mid-performance for morale was blown apart by the first shell. The royal yacht destroyed the Sultan's yacht. The Glasgow opened fire with its small guns, but its wooden hull stood no chance. Within minutes, shells tore through the vessel. Flames engulfed the deck. The ship sank, stern first, into the harbor. The British advanced Marines landed at the customs house, advancing with purpose. Maxim guns rattled, the air filled with smoke and dust. Zanzibari defenders fought bravely, holding positions, returning fire, refusing to flee. But bravery could not stop steel. By 9:38 a.m., the palace lay in ruins. Khalid had already fled through a back door. Ceasefire signals were raised. The war ended, 38 minutes. As the smoke cleared, the true cost became visible. Over 500 Zanzibaris killed or wounded, the palace destroyed. The royal yachts sunk beneath the harbor. The Sultanate, humbled, and British power cemented beyond challenge. British casualties. One sailor, injured when a gun jammed, and new Sultan Witinour's Britain appointed a new, cooperative Sultan, Ahmad bin Muhammad. Zanzibar's autonomy already fragile became ceremonial. The palace was rebuilt, the government reorganized, but the island would never again challenge imperial authority. The war had lasted less than a single lesson in a classroom, but its consequences shaped Zanzibar. For generations, the Anglo-Zanzibar War was not just a historical oddity. It was a warning loud, sudden, and a warning that the world had entered a new era of warfare. 1. Technology replaced tradition. Centuries of prestige, ceremony, and loyalty were powerless against industrial firepower. 2. Logistics decide everything. The Royal Navy's ability to assemble, coordinate, and execute made the battle a foregone conclusion. 3. Overconfidence destroys nations. Zanzibar believed Britain would hesitate. Britain believed Zanzibar would surrender. Both were wrong. 4. War does not scale with bravery. Thousands of brave defenders were defeated by a handful of ships, not because they lacked courage, but because they lacked modern tools. In the end, the Anglo-Zanzibar War teaches a truth that echoes across history. Wars are not won by the past. They are won by preparation for the future. Pride cannot stop artillery. Tradition cannot stop steel. And miscalculation can destroy a nation in minutes. The shortest war in history is remembered not for its scale, but for its message, a message carved into stone.